101.5 FM proudly presents The Community Kitchen with Annette Long.
And welcome to Community Kitchen after a fantastic Easter break. I'm sure everyone's getting back into the norm. They've got over the chocolate indulgence. I think I have, but had a lovely Easter, so that's the main thing. We have a first guest online, and today we have some wonderful news because SBS Feast magazine will be featuring on 101.5 Community Kitchen each month. So good morning, Alex Clark. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
Excellent. Now, your magazine is something that I really do relish, so I'm very pleased that we're going to be talking to you each month because you bring a certain worldly interest to our show, which is fantastic.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to being able to talk to you every month as well. And yeah, we do always have a nice broad range of things on offer in the magazine.
I think there's always... I was saying to someone the other day, the one thing about... I read recipe books like novels, but the one thing about a lot of food is finding the roots of where they come from and who these people are behind generating such fantastic food to put on our tables.
Exactly, and I think one of the stories that we've got in our current issue is about Punchbowl, which is kind of a Lebanese suburb of Sydney, and we've done some really great stories where we've talked to some of the locals there who run kind of various different food establishments in the neighbourhood, but then they've also given us their favourite kind of family recipes, and I think it's really great to get some things like that. You wouldn't necessarily find them in a cookbook, and it's nice to hear the story about what these people, like about that particular recipe and why it's why it's important to them. And I really love that we are able to find the stories like that and give all our recipes some context. It's never just, flour and eggs and milk and throw it together. There's always that story about where it's come from.
I think it's a generosity too, isn't it? These people are giving away things that have taken years and sometimes generations to get something together. And I think that's a beautiful thing about food, is the generosity of it all.
Oh, absolutely. It's just... food for us is so much more than just food. It's all about that, sitting down at a table and sharing conversation and finding out what people have been up to. And we're so fortunate because all the families and the people that we do speak to are so willing to share recipes that, as you said, have been in their family for generations, have had kind of twists and turns along the way, and they love being able to share it with us so that other people can appreciate this great food as well.
One thing here that I'm actually very envious of is the Morocco article. I can't wait to get my little teeth into that and read that because it's a place that I really wanted to go. Did you go there?
Yes, I did. I wrote this story, actually. Morocco is fabulous. This is the second time that I've been to Morocco, and it is one of those countries that I think as a born and bred Australian, it just really does feel so incredibly foreign, especially when you are in the ancient cities of Fez and Marrakesh. And when we were in Fez, we were staying right in the Medina, which is the old town, and it's the oldest kind of, and most complete medieval city in the world. So there's a huge area where there's no cars at all. All the little streets there are basically just wide enough so that two donkeys with a cart can pass each other. And it's just amazing that all still exists, and there's incredible food there, and people, still making things by hand, grinding almonds to make marzipan with a hand grinder and things like that. Women making this incredible pastry that's called like waka pastry or brick pastry occasionally, where they have this kind of hot plate and they almost just wipe the dough across it to make this pastry that's similar to phyllo in a way, but a bit more durable. And we had a fantastic time there doing cooking classes and even things like roadside stalls where they've got entire lamb carcasses just hung up at the front of the stall, and they just butcher that, depending on what you feel like. So minced up some of it for some kofta, and then cut up bits into cutlets, and then barbecued it out the front for us, and it was just incredible and just wonderful experiences. And we had a chance to really interact with some of the locals, and we were able to ask them lots of questions about, what is life like living in the Medina of Fez. It couldn't be more different than my life in the suburbs of Sydney. So it's wonderful to have those kinds of opportunities. And of course, we were eating fabulous food as we did it.
Oh, I think it sounds fantastic. I keep saying that I really do think that our station manager should be sending my paneler and myself on some of these great trips.
I'll get the petition started. I'll add my signature to that. We'll see what we can do.
I think it's fantastic. Now, you're actually launching an award this month too.
Yeah, we've got the Feast Food Awards starting. So this is the second year that we're doing them. So they're kind of slowly gaining traction. And what we've done is looked at all the food that Australians love to eat that is kind of come to us from all the the fabulous cultures that we have in Australia, and we've come up with 10 categories that we feel kind of cover what's popular at the moment, and that's things like Mexican soft tacos or Portuguese custard tarts, Japanese ramen, Vietnamese rice paper rolls. And we're asking people to go out to their neighbourhoods, their suburbs, and nominate their favourite places to eat these things. Send in the nominations to us, and we'll then be creating a short list, going around doing some tastings and choosing some finalists. So hopefully we can find, the best Vietnamese rice paper rolls in each capital city around Australia, or each state around Australia. And I think it'll be a fantastic way to find some hidden gems and just kind of remind everyone of all this amazing food that we've got right here on our doorstep.
Now, with the Australian Award, it's going to be about the meat pie. I really do think that there's places where you drive past a baker shop and you'll see about 20 tradies utes. And
that's always a good sign.
It's always a good sign when you're looking for a meat pie. And I think it's one of those categories, not that I don't like a meat pie, but I think it's one of those categories that really men have to make the decision about this because they are the biggest pie eaters, apparently. And it's incredible.
Yeah, definitely. It's meat pies are more of a male thing. So we'll have to see what nominations come in for that. I think it'll be interesting. Everyone's got their own particular favourite in terms of filling and how much pastry there should be and how much gravy and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, and it'll all, as I said, all be culminating in a winner, and we'll be announcing some national winners as well. So I'm readying my elastic waist pants at the moment for a fairly epic week of testing in a month or so. So
I don't think we've got any sympathy for you at all, Alex.
It is pretty hard to get people to feel sorry for me these days. So.
I would say so. Well, look, thank you, and I look forward to talking to you each month. And
that'd be great.
And it's fantastic, and generously you have given 2 magazines, which we will actually put out to our listeners, and all they have to really do is tell us what is the launch that SBS Feast is doing this month, and it's not too hard, is it? It's all about food.
Exactly. We were just talking about it. So, hope those lucky listeners enjoy their magazines.
Thank you, Alex, and we'll talk to you in a month's time.
See you then.
Bye.
Bye.
So that's it, listeners. You've heard it. All you've got to do is ring up 54951015 and you're going to be in the winning to receive one of these fantastic mags. And seriously, it's a magazine that I do read readily because I love the stories of the food. And SBS Feast magazine, of course, is available in the news agency. But we've got 2 to give away. So give us a call here on 54951015 and all you've got to do is tell us what is SBS launching this month. We'll be back shortly. And welcome back to Community Kitchen. We have our next guest online, Chris Ogden, who is from the Queensland Association of School Tuck Shops. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Annette.
How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to talk to us.
You're welcome.
I'm very interested in the tuck shops. We've been talking for the last couple of months about children's health and getting back to eating naturally and what mums should be putting in tuck shops in their lunch boxes. What role does the association have?
Well, basically, we're a support organisation for tuck shop conveners. We have over 800 members throughout the state that we look after. So they can call us at any time if they've got any questions about which foods are appropriate, which aren't. We also, for our members, do a complete menu health check for them if they require it each year. So that means going through their menu, telling them how that fits into the government Smart Choices strategy. That's the green, amber and red strategy. And just making some suggestions about how they could improve it, how they could improve profits, and how they could make life a bit easier for themselves.
It's important, isn't it? Because have you seen a lot of changes that are going for the positive side? Let's not be negative here this morning,
No.
but let's think about, have we seen some good positive changes in the last few years?
Absolutely. The strategy became mandatory in 2007. So, look, we've been working with it for quite a few years now. And since that time, we've basically seen soft drinks completely out of state schools. And that's a huge thing, considering how much, particularly in high schools, used to be sold. We also don't see confectionery at all in high schools or any deep-fried foods in any schools at all. So there are three things that are major changes since the strategy.
And it's not hard to implement, is it? Because a lot of families now are very conscious. I mean, whilst I said before, let's keep the positive, just looking at the negative side of it, we only ever seem to hear all the negative things about nutrition. But there's a lot of parents and there's a lot of people out there who are very serious about providing good food for their young children, good food for their families, and yet we're stuck with a lot of health issues for a lot of young children, which I must say is absolutely frightening when you think about the stats that they're putting forth. So, you know, when you look at these parents who are doing the positive thing, it's such a good support for them to have a good tuck shop.
Absolutely. And so many tuck shops are going down that line now because they can actually not only provide fantastic, healthy, natural foods for children, but they can make more money by cooking things on site as well. So, I mean, that's an aspect that is often there's a bit of pressure on tuck shop to make money. And so by not buying in those convenience foods, by making things from scratch in the actual tuck shop, and if there's a school garden, perhaps link in with them where they can take the fresh produce straight from the school garden and use it in the tuck shop. And we've got lots of examples where that's happening too.
I think that's wonderful. I've had a couple of different groups on. I've had the Stephanie Alexander gardening program on my show, and I've had the Organics Australia, who also actually support schools. And it's such a good thing. And evidently the thing is that children are more interested in trying things if they grow it.
Absolutely. I mean, that's not rocket science, is it?
No.
You could understand how that can work. They can see it growing before their eyes. They're going to want to taste it.
I think it's a lovely thing. I really do. And when you say that the schools, you know, they're making money, I guess it is a hard thing, isn't it? Because when you start to look at providing food from the raw, at times it can be a little bit more expensive. Is that what you found?
No, that's not really what we found. The only way it costs more is that generally you need more hands on deck to do the preparation. Certainly in terms of the raw material cost and what you can sell a product for, there's a lot more markup that you can add. And that just stands to reason. If you're buying in a convenience food that someone else has already made profit on, well, you're not going to be able to put the same markup on it as something that you make from scratch. But we did know as soon as we went down the Smart Choices route, there would be more food preparation on site, which means more hands on deck. And I guess with the advent of both parents working, volunteers are really few and far between in tuck shops these days. And if parents are looking for something to do that can support a healthy tuck shop, then volunteering in the tuck shop is probably number one that they could do.
It's only a couple of hours a week, isn't it?
Well, it is, and you don't even have to do that. You could possibly do an hour in the morning and help out before work if possible. You know, you can basically cut it into any bite-sized piece. It would be all useful.
One thing when I first talked to you about coming on the show, one point you made was we've got to start thinking of food as food. And
absolutely.
I thought it was such a... I wrote it down because as simple as it is, I didn't want to lose that because we everything seems to be... You know, when we were talking about shopping and we were talking about the categories that food's put into, but fundamentally food is food. An apple is an apple, and you know, we have lost that a little bit, haven't we?
I think so. There's been so much emphasis on nutrient panels and even the red, green and amber, the strategy that the government's put forward to help tuck shops if we start thinking about that in terms other than that, I think we've gone too far. What we need to think about is basically the 5 food groups we learned about when we were at school. Go right back to those basics and just think about the real food. We can buy a lot of packaged foods, but how much real food is actually in that? I come from a food technology background, so I worked for some years in industry, and basically most of those convenience foods don't have good quality ingredients, and all of the numbers and bits and pieces that you see on the label are all put there so that it can give it the right mouthfeel, so that it actually tastes good. Now, if we go back to the basics of using fresh, quality ingredients, you don't need all those additives. You know, a few herbs and a couple of spices and you've got yourself a fantastic meal. So I really recommend that people get back into cooking and teach their kids how to cook, because once you, even by juicing an orange, for example, to see how much juice comes out of an orange as compared to how easy it is just to pour a glass of orange juice, you will understand why there's so many calories in one glass of orange juice, because you're probably looking at 3 oranges.
I think it's amazing. I've got one of those really old-fashioned glass juices, you know, when you're cooking, you just... And my grandson was absolutely enthralled by that. He loved it because... And he actually made juice for everyone. It must have been it was a big job, but he just loved the fact that all of a sudden he had this thing with a handle that you turn. It was like this machine. And I thought, you know, that's a nice simple thing for children to do, to learn about this sort of stuff.
Well, that's right. And I have a lot of parents saying to me, I don't understand why orange juice is amber in the strategy. You know, surely it's fruit. But unfortunately, it's not just, well, it is just fruit, but it's not the whole fruit. So if you were eating an orange, then yes, it would be a green product, or what's, you know, mostly sort of product. But because we take probably 3 of those oranges and pop them into a bottle, there's no fibre left, and we've lost a lot of the nutrients. Yes, it's still got, you know, vitamin C and other things in it, so it's still a good quality product, but it's not as good as, say, water as a drink. And even I have a lot of parents who say to me, well, I don't understand, if that is an amber product, how can flavoured milk be a green product? And flavoured milk can be a green product if it's a low-fat milk. And the reason that that's the case is that it has protein in it, and it also has calcium, which is one of the nutrients that we're really lacking in Australia, and it's one that's been sort of identified as the children should have more of. So that's how we have something that some people are quite against flavoured milk. And I understand that, and if parents feel that way, that's fine. As long as kids are getting regular milk, regular white milk, they do need to have that calcium in the diet.
I think once upon a time at breakfast, you know, you'd have a porridge or a cereal and a glass of milk. And those times, as you said before, there's a lot of busy people. And I know in the Caboolture area there is a couple of different organisations who provide breakfast for children because they don't get any breakfast before they come to school, which is just frightening. But I think now they've put in, you know, sip and chew or crunch or sit up, hunchy, whatever it is. All these different things, which is fantastic, because I even find myself about mid-morning, you're looking for something to eat.
Oh, that's right. And a hit of fruit is actually a really great way to keep going.
I think it's fantastic. Well, Chris, thank you for joining us. After we talk to you, we're actually going to be talking to the PNC president, Narangba, because they had a wonderful change around in their tuck shops there.
Excellent.
Which had sort of got my whole mind pattern happening, and I wanted to actually share these meetings with people because I think it's so important to see some really serious stuff happening in the schools.
And it's wonderful what schools can do when they have the support of parents and they work together on a common goal. We've seen some wonderful turnarounds, and it's very heartening. It's one of the reasons I love this job so much.
Sounds like you do, because I know you're on holidays and you've actually taken the time to talk to me. So thank you very much, Chris.
You're very welcome.
Bye now.
Bye now.
And we've been talking to Chris Ogden, and she is with the Queensland Association of School Tuck Shops. So whilst we, as I said earlier, whilst we see a lot of negative things put with food, there's some wonderful people out there doing some great jobs. We're going to our sponsors, then we're going to come back and we're going to talk to Sarah Whitbread, and she is the PNC president of Narangba Bar State School. And we're back with our Community Kitchen. I have my next guest online, Sarah Whitbread. Good morning.
Good morning, Annette.
How are you?
Very well, thank you.
I've just been talking to Chris Ogden from the Queensland Association of School Tuck Shops, and she was very excited I was going to have you on the show because she said it's fantastic to see, tuck shops taking on the changes. And from the article I saw in the paper, the children are loving it.
Yeah, absolutely. And let me just say, Quast, there's such a great support for school tuck shops, and if there's any tuck shops that aren't members, they really should be, because they are just brilliant and always really, really happy to help you.
That's great, because that's one thing that Chris made the point of. She said, if you get some really good parents together, you can make great changes. So let's just have a little look. How did all this come about?
Well, about 18 months ago, myself and another committee member attended a conference, as we do during the PNC year, and there was people from Quast there talking about these great things that you could do with your menu, and we thought it was time to make a change. So we spent about 18 months trialling foods and talking to the kids and parents and teachers. And then this year we took the big step and just went whole hog and changed the whole menu. And haven't really looked back. This term has been fantastic.
How do tuck shops work? I mean, once upon a time you'd have tuck shop once a week. Do you have tuck shop every day?
Some kids do, and that's our goal behind doing this, is that it's no longer a treat for a lot of children. It's relied upon as their daily lunchtime meal, and we want to make sure that they're getting the nutritious requirements that they need to be able to learn, because that's what they're there for.
Now, one point that Chris made also was the fact that she said that, people really should get involved because there is money to be made, which you can then invest back into your school.
That's exactly right. All tuck shop profits are linked to providing resources for the school, things like home readers, IT equipment, etc. If our tuck shop doesn't make money, we can't then give back to the school, and then our kids are the ones suffering.
So you've got a lot of... everything's on volunteers, isn't it?
Absolutely. We have a paid tuck shop convener, actually two now, that oversee everything. But everything else is done on a volunteer basis.
Has there been some nightmares trying to get all this together?
A few, but we've, there was about 4 core people that were involved in doing this, and we were very, very passionate, and we weren't going to give up, and we're really proud of what we've done.
So everything's prepared at the school?
Just about, yeah. What we did was made sure that we could prepare as much as we could, and we have not just volunteers that help daily in the tuck shop, but volunteers that come in and do the cooking. And, I've spent many a weekend along with some other mothers there cooking spaghetti bologneses and things like that to get them ready. So we have we rely on two lots of volunteers, one to get all the meals cooked and prepared, and the other lot to work in the tuck shop daily.
So you'd have a morning tea and a lunch?
We serve one break through the tuck shop that goes out in the old brown paper bag.
Sure.
And then they can come back on second break and buy things over the counter also.
This is primary school, isn't it?
This is primary school.
So you're doing spaghetti bowls, you're doing...
We've got oven-fried rice, we've got savoury mince rolls, and one thing we're really proud of, which really excites the kids, is we do, once a term, we do what we call Tastes of the World.
Oh,
and we
beautiful.
We introduce a... like the first time we did it, we did Taste of the World, Taste of India, and we did a butter chicken. We've just finished our nachos from Mexico, and they're just such a big hit, and the kids really love the excitement of it and the change each term.
But that's so good for them, isn't it?
It's great, and those things can be made nutritiously, and of course they're homemade.
Oh, I think that's a fantastic idea, because at the same time, a lot of children, whilst a lot of children do get introduced to food because their parents like to eat or cook or something, a lot of children, they don't have that opportunity. What a great idea. Whose idea was that?
That was actually mine.
That is fantastic. So therefore, really, even if they don't like it, they still give it a go.
They do, and the big thing is seeing other kids eat it, and I must admit I do use my daughter as the guinea pig, and I tell her to have one so that all her friends see her eating it, and then it kicks off from there. And we promote them, these ideas on school parades. We give away vouchers to encourage the kids to eat that. And one thing that has been really, really well accepted too is sushi. sushi is loved by the children.
Isn't that amazing? I was just talking to someone the other day, and once upon a time, if you put sushi down in front of the children, I think, but children love rice.
They do. And we trialled it, and we experimented lots of different things with that, and it's one of our biggest sellers for sure.
I think it's nice and fresh, and I mean, at the same time, once you start to get children on that top end of primary, you know, when they're starting to get a little bit older, they do social things with their friends, so they get introduced to different things, and that's a nice thing.
It is. It's great, and we're really happy with the way it's been accepted. The kids are very, very accepting of everything we're doing, and get very excited when we tell them about new things that are coming up.
So therefore, Chris was saying that, the one thing that's happened over the time is there's definitely no soft drinks, there's no fried food at all.
No.
Do you really think kids miss that at school?
No. I think if you give them, you put the choice out that you want them to have. I mean, there's still things they can choose, but we know that whatever they choose, they're making the right decision. Fresh fruit's a great example. We just cut that up and put it on the bench at break time, and it's amazing how many kids will just choose to have some fresh fruit.
You know, when you think about children, I read an article once that most guys will not eat fruit unless it's cut up.
Probably.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
You know, whereas a lot of, you find with children, they're quite happy to munch on an apple, but apparently most men will not eat fruit, and I hope I'm not opening up a can of worms here, but it was just something I read, and I can't even state where I got it from, so maybe I'm just pulling it out of the air. But that was the whole thing, because whilst I guess most of the time women have been chopping up and doing lunch boxes, and I'm sure there's a lot of wonderful dads who do that too, predominantly I think a lot of women have done that, and they're used to doing it, but a lot of guys will not eat fruit unless it's chopped up and prepared.
Well, there you go.
Maybe we should send them to the tuck shops every now and then so they get used to that.
That's it. That is it. And we do have some dads that are now starting to help in the tuck shop, and that's really great to see. And one thing kids love to see is their parents volunteering in the school.
Of course
I can't
they do.
stress that enough. They really get a kick out of seeing mum and dad reading, or, as we said, in the tuck shop, cooking away. So.
Oh, that's great. And what taste of the world are you having this next time?
We're going to America, and we're introducing cheeseburgers.
Oh.
Which, of course, can be made nutritiously sound for the children.
I don't think there's anything wrong with a burger. When you look at it, you know, you've got all the elements of fantastic stuff, like salad and your meats and everything like that.
And you can hide a few veggies in those patties, for sure.
Oh, of course you can.
One thing I heard Chris from Cross saying, too, is about breakfast, and that's another thing we introduced last year. And it is amazing how well breakfast does on our menu.
Oh, so you do when the children get to school earlier?
Yes, so in wintertime we offer hot Milo, we offer raisin toast or toast, and in summertime we just exchange that with a chocolate milk instead of a hot Milo.
Oh, a lot of people are just so busy nowadays.
Yes. Yeah.
It's incredible, isn't it? It's lovely that you can fill that gap, because a lot of children evidently have problems learning.
Yes.
When they haven't had their nutritious breakfast or morning tea or lunch.
That's right, and that's one thing we've, spoken to our teachers and staff about as well. So.
That's great. Best of luck.
Thank you very much. Can I say hello to my children, please?
You definitely can.
Hello to George, Isaiah and Ava, and they're the reason I do all of this.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you, Sarah, and good luck.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks for joining us this morning. We've been talking to Sarah Whitbread, and she's with the PNC at Narangba State School. What a great thing. And as Chris was saying earlier from the Queensland Association of School Tuck Shops, so good for people to get involved, because Sarah just confirmed that kids love it. They love to see their parents involved in school. We're going to go to our sponsors. And welcome back. I have our next guest online, who is Assistant Professor Heather Yateman, and she's from the Public Health Association of Australia. Good morning, Heather. How are you?
Good morning, Annette. I'm fine, thank you.
Interesting. I've just spent the prior part of my interview talking to the Queensland Tuck Shops Association and talking to one of the fantastic tuck shops in our region who's just made some fantastic changes. And you're mentioning here that food and nutrition is missing from the new health and physical education curriculum. That's scary, isn't it?
Well, it is. We're for the first time having a national curriculum, and I think that's a really good move. And it means that all of our children will receive coverage of the same core elements. But when basic skills in food and nutrition are not presented well in that curriculum, that's where we get worried, because we have so many problems associated with poor eating habits and poor health outcomes that here's a great opportunity, and it's one that might slip past us.
I think it's wonderful, and congratulations for jumping on that, because when, I'm in an era where we had to have physical exercise at school. You had to do basic cooking, so it actually taught you about nutrition and taught you about food. But from my discussions and investigations, a lot of this doesn't happen anymore.
Well, the draft curriculum, the health and physical education curriculum, there's a good detail there on the physical activity. They've done a really good job of that. They've spelt out the range of different skills, different opportunities for learning through physical activity and so on. But they haven't done the same with the nutrition area, and I think that's a big loss, because trying to teach basic food preparation skills, basic gardening, food for health, food through the life cycles, all of that information is really important for everyone to know about. So it would be good to actually have that embedded in the curriculum and spelt out to the same level of detail.
I think it's important. Who are we looking at here with this curriculum? This from primary to high school?
Yes, it goes from when children first start primary school through to year 10. And so it builds up the basic levels of skills up to, very competent, what we would be thinking young adults should know and be able to do. So if young adults don't all know how to do some basic food preparation so that they can feed themselves when they leave home, I think that's a major omission.
I think it is too. And a lot of people, like a few years ago, I spent time doing some cooking classes on a volunteer level for different organisations around Caboolture, because a lot of people felt that they couldn't afford to eat. And yet there's some wonderful organisations who give boxes of fruit and vegetables, and Communicare and people like that, who do some wonderful things that take excess produce from the farmers and put it out there for the public to buy at a very reasonable rate, and it's wonderful produce. And in talking with a lot of people, I'd ask them, what do you have for dinner? And they'd say, 1 minute noodles. And yet when you look at the nutrition level of that, it was nothing. There was nothing in it apart from salt and fat.
And young people, often people generally these days, we teach them how to respond and interact with our dominant food supply, so supermarkets, and that's where most of the packaged foods are. We're not very good at teaching them, well, if you do have a box of vegetables, say, whether they buy them or whether they get them through a charity organisation or go and visit a local farm, do they know how to prepare them? Can they organise a weekly menu so that they don't go off after 3 or 4 days? Can they prepare a meal using them that their family will enjoy eating? And there's some of the very practical skills that we'd like to see in the national curriculum.
I think it's fantastic, because not only, like, when you look at the children point of view, you can understand why, a lot of us feel so passionate about children learning about food, but when you actually are growing up and you get out in society and you have people with mental health issues and that, and they're not eating well, it just sort of compounds the problem.
It does, and we all know that when we're not feeling particularly well, we also don't feel like eating or don't feel like preparing meals, so it's even more important to have some of those basic skills so it's easy and it's not a chore and you don't have to think about it too much, because it's so second nature to you that you can just fall into that pattern that is familiar. And that's what we need to create with children, that they're very comfortable with different sorts of fruits and different sorts of vegetables and are able to think, well, it's 6 o'clock at night, my children are hungry or the family's hungry, what can I do quickly to have something on the table in the next 30 minutes that people will enjoy eating and it's not too much trouble for us.
And I think also, when you say in 30 minutes, a lot of the times you see now and I'm not nitpicking chefs or anything here, but some of the things are just so complicated, and also they're so expensive. Whereas if you have the common, potatoes and a few things, and you know that you can make a little soup or something like that quite quickly, or you can make an omelette, or, a lot of people don't know those basic things, and I think that really basic food is just a wonderful thing, and I agree with you 100%. How do you get this happening then?
Well, I think we need to re-emphasise that it's important, and I think that acknowledgement of the importance of these basic cooking skills and food preparation skills, I think that we've really devalued them as a society. We say, well, that's not important. It's the 3 R's that are important, how to write and read and do your maths and so on. But people forget, well, if you're looking at a recipe, if you have to change the amounts, that is maths. It's applied arithmetic. You're learning your fractions. You're learning your multiplication. So you've got a recipe for 4, but I've only got 2. How do I halve it? Or if you've got a recipe for 4, but friends are coming around, how do I double it? And so those really basic skills can be taught through the practice of food preparation and good nutrition. And there are some really good programs in schools already, and it would be nice to build on that experience of, we've got some food garden programs down here in Wollongong that the Healthy Cities people run. Stephanie Alexander has been very active in promoting kitchen gardens in schools as well. So there's experience that we can draw on now, and there's also evidence that if children are involved in those programs, they are more likely to try different foods. They gain a lot in terms of skills, and they're much more comfortable and confident in preparing meals themselves.
I think it's great. I agree with you 120%. I was just talking to a lady that one of the P&C women from Narangba, which is just south of Caboolture, north of Brisbane, and she was saying that what they do once a month is they have a world food at their tuck shop. So they might have, like, they're doing burgers next month, and she said whilst you're thinking that could be an unnutritious meal, they're going to learn about that, and they're going to learn all about the culture, and they do a country each month, which I think is a wonderful thing, because the children also get involved with it, and they learn different skills, so even that is a great advancement.
Oh, absolutely. Anything that's practical and provides children with hands-on experience of food, of dealing with food. If it's preparing a hamburger, preparing an omelette, some noodles that have got fresh vegetables and herbs with them, these are all very practical experiences, and we know that children have to have that practice, have to have that hands-on, and sometimes children are very resistant to try new foods, but if they have that contact, if they've grown it themselves or have prepared it with friends and they can see their friends are eating it, they're much more likely to try it themselves.
I think definitely. I remember doing a class one day, and a farmer had given us a beautiful big box of fresh beetroot, and a lot of the mummies, because we were dealing with 3 upwards, and a lot of the mums said, "Oh, my child will not eat that." And I said, "Let's give it a go." So we'd baked it, and then we'd made a dip with some yogurt and a few little yummy things, and we put all these beautiful vegetables, which the children had to help us cut, and then we used as a dipping sauce. It went just like that, because the children were involved in chopping it and cutting it, and it was the most beautiful pink, and they couldn't believe how nice it was, and the mums were really surprised. They said, that's the last thing I would have thought of putting in front of children, and yet they ate it. Yeah. Sometimes I wonder it's our perception of what they should eat that sort of keeps them away from trying foods.
To some extent it is, because if we think that young mums these days, they probably didn't have the cooking skills during school themselves, so they haven't had the exposure, and maybe they're not as confident as they could be in terms of food preparation. So we really need to think of this as a total package. Cooking skills and food preparation by themselves aren't going to change the health of our children into the future, but they're a very good fundamental start in doing that, because once children appreciate fresh foods and have the confidence to be able to prepare it themselves, they'll pass that on to their own children, but they'll also be in a better position to judge what's available in supermarkets and be more critical about that and be able to make those informed choices when, say, the health department comes out with eat more fruits and vegetables or eat 2 fruits and 5 vegetables a day. If you look at the figures, there's less than 10% of our adult population that are eating the 5 vegetables a day, and for children it can be even less. So we've got a lot of ground to cover in terms of meeting even those basic food recommendations, and having something very practical in the national curriculum, I think, is just critical to help overcome that.
So you were saying it's less than 10%
That's right.
of adults?
That's right. Well, listeners, you can think for yourself. So you, every day, or on average every day, you're eating 5 different vegetables. If you take away the potato in particular, so not the chips or the mashed potatoes and so on, but 5 different vegetables every day, most people are not meeting that at all. You have to really think quite hard.
Yes.
You have to have some vegetable in the morning, say tomato on toast with some cracked pepper or some avocado, something like that. You need to have something at lunchtime, and you need to have your 3 vegetables with your evening meal. That's how you do it, but most of us don't eat like that.
Oh, it's a good point. If you're being really critical, isn't it? To try and put that into your diet is something that you have to make a very good decision to do.
That's right. Yes, and children just need to be comfortable and confident to be able to make those sorts of decisions. And at the moment, I don't think they are.
It's good. It's good. It's very good food for thought. I think it's worthwhile, and I've really enjoyed talking to you because I think it is something that I too feel very strongly about. So I will continue down this road on my Community Kitchen show, and I thank you very much for taking the time and coming joining us this morning.
I've enjoyed it very much, and well done on continuing to provide cooking to your population.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Annette.
Bye now.
Bye.
And we've been talking to Associate Professor Heather Yeatman from the Public Health Association of Australia. And I must say that I just feel as passionate as what she does about this, because it is so important that our young people can be advised so that they can make the choices and they can start to cook when they become parents, and that they are responsible for people down the track. It's been a wonderful morning. I've had some great people to talk to. As I mentioned at the start of our show, each month, I'm very excited about this, we're going to have Alex Clark, who's the editor of the SBS Feast magazine, on to talk about her food that she looks at, she travels, they taste. I'm very envious of this woman, I can tell you that. They go to so many wonderful places, but the stories are just brilliant. I love that about food. And of course we talked to Chris Ogden from the Queensland Tuck Shop Association. Wonderful, very nice, positive person to talk to, and great support for those parents who are out there doing tuck shops. And of course, the Rangbar State School, lovely. It took them 18 months of preparation to get their tuck shop going, but now they're so excited about it, and it's so wonderful, and the children love it, and it's working, and they too can make a profit to continue. And of course, we talked to Assistant Professor Heather Yeatman from the Public Health Association of Australia. I thank my guests for being here, and I look forward to talking to you next week actually. We've had a bit of a change around because they're doing a few renovations at the radio station, and but we are back on track, and we definitely will be here next week. Thanks for listening. Bye.